Hello and welcome to the Dating with Katy podcast. Today I'm going to ask you the question that you always ask yourself. Am I settling? Are you settling? And these are the questions that I'm going to propose to you to see if you are or not, and just living in a state of fear, which we will begin to talk about in a minute here. Well, thank you so much for joining. I hope you have subscribed to make sure that you are getting all of these. We come out weekly, sometimes bi-weekly, depending on the busy schedules. And even myself, I've been working on, am I settling? I've been dating someone and you want to get crystal clear. So this was really helpful for me as well. So make sure that you have subscribed to this. Send it to a friend. I know you've maybe talked this through with somebody. Maybe you're working it out yourself and you need to send it back in a month. Send it to an email so that you can listen to this again. These are 15 minutes long, 1% of your day. And then also do me a favor and give me a 5-star review and let me know some other topics you guys would love for me to chat about. You can always email me at datingwithkaty@gmail.com. So let's get into today. So are you settling? Now, if you're in a stage of dating where this is going to be serious, you want to ask yourself these questions. Now, go listen to my podcast number 8. I call it the first 3 stages of dating. Now, I'm a dating coach. So I actually want to get you dating. I'm not necessarily a relationship expert. It seems like everybody is these days. You have to understand I'm a matchmaker. So my job is to put people on dates and to get them out on a first date, to get them to make sure that they know how to get the second date, because that's not on me. And I want to make sure that you guys are really understanding the stages of dating. So go listen to that podcast. But this is when you're in something deeper and you've really kind of tested some time with this person, and then you're asking yourself, am I settling? So let's go through reasons why you probably aren't settling. This is going to be the first lineup. And then I'm going to say some of the reasons why you might be settling. So let's go with number 1 of one of the reasons you're probably not settling if you actually think that this person is a good person and an equal to you. Now, I have dated some guys in the past that, they were good guys, but they had some character flaws that I didn't think kind of equaled my ethics. So I probably was settling for something a little less. Ask yourself if the person you're dating has some ethics that might not be the same, which we'll get into. But if you think that that person is a great person, you see them in action, you see them with their families, in their careers, out and about, and they're good people, that's a good gig right there, you guys. It's hard to find that 20% or so. And hopefully you are that equal to them. So you aren't settling if you found a good person. You probably aren't settling if you feel at peace with them and you can see their effort in your relationship. Guys, having a peace-filled relationship, being with a partner that you feel at peace with. Ladies, you'll understand this better in the term of safe. You feel safe when you're with them. You feel energetically safe. You feel physically safe. You feel emotionally safe. That is someone you want to be with, okay? You are not just settling for them. You are in a good relationship. Number 3, you probably aren't settling if you actually can look back at photos at things you've done and really smile about those memories. Now, I'm a big believer, if you're on a date with someone you really kind of like on the first date, take a selfie, because if you are with that person for a long time, you'll be so glad you did. I was date coaching with my Wing Girl program, a gentleman in Connecticut. In his young 30s, he meets a girl, goes on a date. Her name's Katy too. And I asked him, he said, Katy, the date was great. I said, did you happen to take a picture with her? He said, no, I didn't. But he did it. He did take a photo with her by date 3, and they've been dating for 6 months now. So cheers to them. And then it's so fun to look back and see a photo of when you two were together. And any photos, all the memories are always great to see. And if that brings you peace, you are not settling. Number 4, you're not settling if those who love you and are surrounding you also feel like that person's a good fit for you. Get their input. It is so important. You don't do life as an island. You don't do relationships as an island. Get community around you. Number 5, you are not settling if you honestly can say it's not just FOMO. Now, what I'm talking about here is fear of missing out. So some of you, you think you're settling because you are just looking at other people's Instagram profiles of their relationships, and maybe you're actually a little bit jealous. So now all of a sudden you're feeling like you're settling, even though you're not. Because you've got a great person. We've already described this person as someone who's quality, someone who makes you feel safe with, someone you have good memories with. But when you start scrolling and you start looking at others and you start comparing, you are going to wonder if you are, but you are not settling. So make sure that you are not using FOMO as an excuse. And here's another one that could be an excuse. This is number 6. When you say to yourself, oh, I'm not attracted to them anymore. Now, come on, really. If they look the same, if they haven't changed dramatically, then really that's just an escape. And maybe you have a wandering eye. So that's going to be directly on you. And I'm going to just ask you, if that's the issue, I'm going to tell you honestly, you will never settle on anyone. You're just going to want to keep playing the field. So if someone is doing all these great things and you know their quality deep down, and you can definitely say that for sure, but yet you've got a FOMO or your eyes wandering, you're going to think that you are settling for this person, but you're not. So make sure you catch yourself on some of these bad traits that you could be doing. Now let's talk about why you just might be settling. Now, this has happened. I'm sure all of us have settled, or we've kind of let some things slide by in dating. Maybe even on a first date, somebody said something that it hit you wrong. I remember going on a first date, and look, I don't pay for first dates. You know how I feel about that. Only twice in my life have I paid, and one was with a guy from junior high, actually elementary school. I just wanted to get out of the date. It was like we was going nowhere fast. And so I was like, hey, look, I'll pay half. And I just wanted to get out fast. So I was trying to move the date along. The second time, the only other time, was a gentleman who was telling me about how he was such a great dad, even though he was never there. His ex-wife had full custody for his whole kids' lives. And then he started telling me how to parent, which if y'all know, I got some amazing kids. So I was so taken aback by this man that I thought never, ever, ever would this man be a good fit for me. So I would never, even though he was good looking, had money, I knew I would never settle for that kind of guy just because of the way he spoke. And so I threw my credit card down, and he tried to Venmo me later, which is like, really, bro, I don't need your Venmo. But I can tell you that a lot of this settling is going to be because your standards are not complete. You haven't written them out. You really don't know them. You don't know your values. So let's talk about this. So you might be settling if you're not sure that person has the same value set as you. Now, if you're wondering, what does that look like, Katy? Literally, my last podcast, I talked all about value sets and how you create your standards in dating. I explained there's 4 kinds of standards that you could start to write down. What are the standards that you want somebody to have emotionally, right? You want them to have a growth mindset. You want them to have an EQ. If you come to a date and they're just bad mouthing another race, I've been on a date like that where he said a word and called a race a terrible name, and I thought, I called him out like any good person would do, but I just thought, wow, opposite value sets. Like, I would never do that. Tacky and rude. Emotionally, he's unaware. Character-wise, that's the second one. Character standards. Just to publicly say these things, it's so rude. So, of course, if you know these things on a first date, you can quickly clarify if someone is of the standards that you're looking for or not. The third one was future standards. Guys, get clear about what you want to do with your life, right? None of this, and I talk about last podcast, well, maybe I'll have a kid or maybe I'll get married. Really dig down deep and listen to what your heart of heart is saying. Like, whenever I have a client who says, yeah, I think I want to get married, maybe, I don't know, I literally will say to them, do you want to get married? Yes or no? It's a yes or no question. And instead of this whole deferring to the person you're going to date, maybe get clear on what you want so that you can find someone who is equal in that standard. So when my client finally has to answer it in a yes or no, they become very clear, and then that helps them get clear about the standard of the person they want to date. Therefore, they won't be settling for something less than what their heart really desires. So, and then number 4 was physical standards. Like, where do you physically believe, and not only just take care of your body health-wise, but sexually. So go listen to that podcast. It's a great podcast on just getting clear on your non-negotiables. Okay, number 8. What you might also be settling if this person does not treat you how your list, and this is the list I've asked you to create, does not treat you how you've written down and how you want to be treated. So if they are disregarding you, if they are dishonoring you in their actions, in their words, and if you are putting up with it, then you are settling. And you need to go back and get clear on that list. Now, this is a list where a lot of people will write their preferences, of course, right? Well, Katy, my list, he's tall, he's dark, he's handsome, he's wealthy, she is blonde, and this is what her chest looks like. And Katy, these lists are so superficial, and those are really just preferences. But the list that you should have is how will that person treat you? Of course, you should be treating that person equally the same. And I share in my last podcast of a guy who yelled at me in public. And good thing I got very clear after dating him on that. I will never put up with that again. So again, if someone's disregarding you and dishonoring you, you are settling for them. You need to get a backbone and move on. You might be settling if you have terrible communication with somebody. Guys, I cannot stress this enough. Communication is key. I mean, with the way, there's so many ways to communicate nowadays. Nobody is really without excuse. You can do it while you're pooping. So make sure, this is what I say, if they are not returning your calls, honoring your time, during communication, if they are degrading you, if they are minimizing you, if they're telling you to shut up, if someone tells you to shut up, that is not somebody you want to be with, and you are settling for somebody who is not worth anyone's time. And if you are that person doing it, then I'm going to ask you to step away from dating, and you need to go get some help and learn how to communicate. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus is a great standard topic of communication styles between men and women. But if you are doing it from a place of hurt, because hurt people by saying things that are demeaning, then you've got actually some deeper work to do, and that's called therapy. I highly recommend it for everybody. Inner child, shadow work, those are the things that you need to be seeking out. Because at the end of the day, your communication needs to be in order for a good relationship, because otherwise there'll be nothing but stress. Am I right? I know I'm right. So you are settling if you do not have good communication with this person. You might be settling if you're compromising your deeper dreams. Now, let me say this. If you haven't communicated your deeper dreams because you're fearful to, then again, that tells me you're settling because you don't have safety in that relationship. But if you've communicated clearly your deeper dreams, and I'm talking deeper long-term goals. Maybe it's a career path, maybe it's a motherhood path, maybe it's a fun path, like I want to go travel a lot. Whatever that is, and if that person is poo-pooing it, or if they are minimizing it, or if they're negating it, that it won't work for their life, then you are probably settling on that person. You are going to have to compromise on trips and maybe holidays with family, different family, movie choices. But if they're asking you to stop living or pursuing a dream of yours, then you need to question that. Number 11, if you are settling, you might be settling, and the people who love you and surround you also think you could get somebody better. So if you're questioning, like, does this person treat me well? Do you guys see anything? And your circle of people, your community says, you know what, I do see things, and I do wonder if it's beyond fixable, repairable, if that person needs to go get help and work. Ask your community, get them involved. Make sure they're pro-relationship. So if they're somebody who's tanked right now and hates men and, thinks all women are just wicked, then don't ask for their opinion. Not a quality person to ask for their opinion. And then you might be settling if that person just doesn't show up for you. Here's a story. I was coaching a woman in Arizona. She's a great mom. She had a good business. She dated a man for 4 years. And that guy, when they got in fights, would disappear for weeks. He would not communicate with her. But then she let him back because, as she told me, Katy, the sex was so great. She's ridiculous. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I always was like, what would you tell your daughter if somebody was doing this to her? If they are not showing up for you, and I remember one time she said, Katy, my water main burst. I called him, I asked him to come help me. He said he had to go to a workout class. He didn't have time today. Really? Really? I can't believe I even have to say this to people. Like, get some common sense that if they are not showing up for you, then you are settling for something less than you deserve. But maybe you deserve it. I don't know. And if all that person wants is sex, then you are definitely settling, because you are worth far more than just sex. So here's the big test. Katy, am I settling? Katy, should I be with this person? And this is something I've had to ask myself. My girlfriends and I are always like, will your person do this for you? And will you do this for your person? At the end of the day, ask yourself this one question. Will they wipe your butts? When blank hits the fan and somebody's sick and somebody, whatever the case is, whether it's major or minor, and you don't feel good and you're not looking your best and you're cranky a little bit, will that person be there? Will they even be beyond just there? Will they help you to wipe your butt? And honestly, and that's what I think we're all deeply looking for. It's not pretty, it's not romantic, it's real. We're looking for that person who's got our backside. And we need to make sure that we're going to be those people as well. Well, I hope this was helpful. You guys, do me a favor, make sure you subscribe, send this to a friend. You want to listen in for the next one. It's going to be about manifesting your person and my opinion on that. All right, you guys, thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.